One of the most common areas of question we receive from Geeksvana viewers is of drone insurance, and with the new UK drone rules in place, what level of insurance is required for which type of work. In order to assist you in answering these questions and to take a deeper look into drone insurance, Geeksvana is delighted to announce a new partnership with Moonrock Insurance Services. With their direct support, we'll be able to bring you a series of videos and content to explain everything you need to know. Coming up soon, we'll be releasing our Drone Insurance 101 video, which will help you understand what level of insurance you need. In this video, I sit down with Simon Ritterband of Moonrock Insurance Services to talk about everything from the future of drone delivery, how to build your drone business with effective insurance, the claims process, and much more. Simon is founder and managing director of Moonrock Insurance, the UK leading specialist drone insurance company, an ardent supporter of enhanced safety and risk mitigation. He sits on government committees and advisory boards, providing insight and expertise into the specialised areas of drone and autonomous insurance. Hi Simon, thank you very much for joining us today. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come and have a chat with myself and the Geeksvana audience.
Thank you very much for having me. Very excited to be on the channel.
Indeed.
Watching it recently, and it's very exciting and to see what you're offering the drone connoisseurs, the drone users in the market.
Could you just explain to our audience how Moonrock Insurance came to be?
Well, I can, and it's quite an interesting story. Actually. Yes. I must admit, I was new to the insurance industry. I knew nothing about it, nothing about insurance, and actually nothing about drones. I was actually in residential property, and one of my builders had actually called up to say there was a problem with a roof tile. And I was like, well, why are you calling me? Just send somebody up, as you usually do, and don't worry about me, don't get me involved. And he goes, well, I've got this thing called a drone. And I was like, what are you talking about, a drone? He goes, well, it's got a camera on it. I can send it up, take 2 seconds to do some photographs, bring it back down again, job done. And I thought to myself, this is really, really weird. So I went down on site to have a look at it, see what it was doing. He threw the drone up, and literally it was like this light bulb moment. Like, what's going on here? So I sort of looked into the industry, looked into the market. This was about 5 years ago, and it was a very niche new industry. And then maybe only 2 or 3 training providers in the market.
Yes.
So I went and became a drone pilot. I did my course, again, more out of curiosity rather than just becoming a drone pilot and giving up my day job.
Absolutely.
And passed the exam, and obviously, as all of your viewers will know, is one of the key areas of once you pass it, is creating your ops manual. Part of the ops manual, you then have to get mandatory insurance, which will come on to EC 785 2004. Went online, looked at the market, and there was maybe 1, maximum 2 people offering drone insurance. So I had to think about it, spoke to a couple of friends, looked at the industry and where there were where's their exciting potential. We looked at finance options, we looked at being an introducer between drone people and businesses. And then obviously there was insurance, and insurance seemed to sort of jump out at me. And I said, right, let's write a business plan. Wrote a business plan, sent it off to Hiscox, who are our current underwriters, and they called back within about 48 hours and said, right, come in and discuss insurance for drones. And I sort of winged it from that point onwards. I've now become some sort of an industry go-to person on drone insurance. I love the drone industry, and I have quite a big understanding of the insurance world in terms of where we are. I sit on a number of the government's advisory committees. I often speak with CEA if they have any questions and queries about drone insurance. So hopefully we've created a great position for ourselves in the market.
With your origin story there, I think that obviously explains why, because it is a company built for drone insurance. It isn't an insurance company.
We are not a broker who offers a number of different services. We are drone specific. We understand the market, we understand our customers' needs, and we don't want to be diverted from that fact. And I'll come on to some of maybe the other additional services that we have added over the years. But again, it's all to help the drone user.
Are there specific categories of end user that you specifically target?
No, our products cover the whole gambit of the drone industry. So we cover insurance for the new open category A2 pilots, flying small Mavic Minis, doing small jobs. all the way up to the larger Bavilos operations now that we're doing. We're insuring a lot of the NHS COVID flights over 20, 30 kilometers.
Wow.
Just done a lot of the I don't know whether you saw it, the swarm displays over New Year in Scotland, which were just phenomenally exciting. Huge feedback, a number of inquiries now about drone swarms and how they can get involved in it. There's this huge industry which is just waiting to take off now for drone.
Absolutely.
Swarms. So yeah,
absolutely.
And we cover everything in between that.
I have always argued when people talk about drone delivery, when people talk about mass commercial drone use, that actually the side of the drone industry that's not necessarily going to be making a lot of the decisions, but will be making it possible is, of course, insurance. Yeah. Because we can't have drone delivery without insurance.
It's very much the drone industry are going to be, and it's an awful word to say, the arbiters of what can and cannot be done. It might be they're just not insured, or there might be things that are just price prohibitive. You talk about an industry which is drones, which is maybe 5, 6, 7 years old. There is a history there which our insurers are now picking up from, and data, but it's not like the car market or home insurance where you've got decades worth of data.
Exactly.
But there is still this very much let's look at each larger case on a case-by-case situation. Let's assess it. Let's understand that the pilots know what they're doing. They're trained. They're competent with their OSCs. So yeah, we have to look at things more specifically on the larger, new, exciting work they're doing.
Do you fly drones yourself personally? Do you still manage to get out there and
I think the last drone I flew, which is actually somewhere in the office, is the old Phantom 4. That tells you how long ago it was.
Wow.
Since I flew a drone, it's like busman's holiday sometimes. Once I leave the office or I finish working, it's like I don't want to be thinking about flying drones. And also, not being CAA qualified, I can't insure myself to fly the drone unless it's from a hobbyist point of view.
Yes, indeed. This is a young industry, so we are still at the point where in another 10 years' time, of course, there's going to be so much more data, especially on the commercial side of and on the innovation side of things. But I can only imagine what process you must go through to try and approve some of those specialist cases. It must be fascinating.
Yeah, it's a collaborative effort. We will obviously have meetings, Zoom calls, interaction with the users and going through this. But the underwriters have actually been really understanding of this growing market. And I think when you look back to where we started in terms of our pricing, I think, policy prices have more than halved in that time, from the initial, well, how are we going to cost it? Risk exposure is massive. There could be huge public liability risks. Actually, what we've seen is drones have become safer. You have sense and avoid, you've got geofencing, you've got parachute systems, you've got much more stable systems. So there's much more confidence of the systems, that there's less risk to them. And touch wood, I touch my head, that we haven't seen a large public liability claim in the market.
Yes,
I think we had one public liability claim, and I think that was a roof tile. Drone hit a roof tile, fell off onto the floor. But apart from that, there has been no large public liability claim. But as every insurer will tell you, that doesn't mean it's going to be like that forever.
Talking about risk, as somebody who is obviously within the insurance industry, is there a concern over amateur flyers that decide that they want to run a drone-based business without additional training? Do you see that as a potential issue? Because of course, technically at the moment, somebody could pick up their Mini 2 without any, if they could get an insurance policy to do so, without any formal training, and go out there and do commercial work. Is that kind of thing a concern to yourself and the insurance industry?
So when the new training and certifications were announced by the C, with consultation, and we obviously had conversations with the CAA about this, there was a bit of concern within the insurance markets, because up until now, everything been based on doing the exam, the qualifications, and flight assessment training. You were passed or you were failed. And that gave the insurers, some proof that they were competent. The flip side is that the PIFCO was all encompassing. So you could go and you'd have no training whatsoever, do your exam, do your flight exam, pass. You could be doing wedding photography 1 minute, but then you could be going to do a site inspection over a £10 million property the other. So there was no real conformity about what was happening. So there is, there's excitement. Sorry, what's the wrong word? There is this excitement. There's an understanding that the insurance market has to change. And there's still concern that what you would call potentially a hobbyist who could pick up a drone, do commercial work, isn't necessarily qualified to the standards that we want. The flip side being that the drones they're using, however, under 250 grams, are what we consider, or you look at the risks they present, are far less. It's not like if you're working with an A2, you can't just go and buy an Inspire 2.
Yes.
Fly it, it's got a heavy mast on it and could cause some serious damage. Looking at much smaller drones that we believe would cause less of a larger liability risk.
I think this new system actually suits the trajectory of getting the qualification and therefore the drone for the job you want to do a lot more than the previous system. I think it's healthy.
And I think what we have seen and what we've encouraged is, rather than this one-stop approach for the PIFCO doing everything, what we've liked to see is what we consider the silo effect. And I think this is where the industry is going, that you have a speciality in a certain field. So if you are a videographer and you're working on feature films, television productions, advertising, you get a qualification or you get an understanding of that particular market. There's no point, you being a pilot who is doing architecture, surveying, inspection, but doesn't know how to fly, maybe from a commercial video point of view, from a creative point of view. So we're liking to see surveyors, architects, inspection, working with training providers or, having their own teaching methods for that particular area of work. And a lot of organizations now, the larger companies, are training their employees with their own training accreditation to fly in those particular silos, as we call them. And we think that's a really good way of focusing and shifting attention to the job that they're doing.
There is a natural ease to the community at the moment that people kind of know where they are and they kind of know what they can do a little bit more clearly with these new qualifications. And your hobbyists with their sub 250 gram drone, if they don't want to be on the radar, they just want the drone itself to be registered, they don't want to pass the theory test or have anything else, they just want to have a little drone they can throw in the sky, great, they've got that. But then as soon as they want to do anything a little bit more serious with the A2 CFC, especially once the C-rated, the C-labeled drones come out, that's going to open up a lot more earning potential for an awful lot of people. So it is very exciting.
But there was, if you looked at the forums and the discussion pages as the consultation was going through, there was absolute consternation about what they're doing. We don't know what, how to go about it. And I think that's been one of the flip side. The downside is, people who are already in the industry or people coming into the industry are somewhat confused about the different bands they can fly in. I don't think it has been explained particularly well. The CAA and organisations have tried to explain it, but there has been a lot of confusion. And I think that still needs some clarification.
Indeed, and it's always difficult as well, of course, because we get many emails regarding insurance, regarding what qualifications to take, etc., that type of thing, and it's always very difficult sometimes to put their specific operation case into just one area, because actually they say, well, sometimes I want to do this and sometimes I want to do that, and it's, well, actually sometimes all you need is the A2 for that, but other times you are going to need a GVC. Yeah. Well, I noticed with Moonrock it goes much further than that, from the point of view that your entire operation is you're able quite easily to get your entire operation insured. So your ground-based station, etc., and everything in there. Why did you decide to go that far as being able to cover the entire business?
What we've tried to do at Moonrock is offer a one-stop shop. We don't want customers to be picking and choosing different bits they can have in their insurance. We want to say, this is a fully loaded policy. You've got everything included in there. You have data protection, invasion of privacy, no limits on number of hours you've flown. We don't even actually need to know the type of drone you're flying. We simply say, here's level of cover. You can have whatever you want within that. You can have 10 drones within that level. We just find that a simplified way of purchasing insurance.
I did find the various types of insurance quite confusing, because of course getting them to mesh together can be difficult as well, and you end up with policies that are overlapping, that are actually can sometimes even invalidate each other as well, and that type of thing.
The reason that came about is, we'd had so many calls daily from photographers saying, I've got 2 policies. Can you just cover my ground-based equipment? Or surveyors saying, can you cover my surveying equipment? And, it took us, a while to get that on, but, we've had that the past 6 months now, and it's been incredible. People are just saying, thank goodness, we can have one policy. We haven't got to worry about it. Everything's online. We can add the insurance. We've got the certificate. We haven't got to think about our insurance now. For another year, or if we claim, we just get out the claim reference number, the policy number, and we claim. I think people in the insurance industry can get so wrapped up in insurance, whereas the end user, all they want is insurance. They've got their day job to think about. They've got to do their site surveys. They've got to put in their safety cases. They've got to check the weather. They don't want to be thinking about insurance all the time. They just want to get it and forget about it.
Exactly, which is fantastic, and of course it means if you're in one place as well, it is scalable, of course, so that as your business grows, as your drone business evolves, you're of course able to scale that policy within Moonrock, rather than having to, okay, now I'm doing this next week, I now need to call 4 different companies and change different things on different policies. So I have to say, I love the simplicity of it.
And there is a flexibility about it, because as hopefully your viewers will know, that the CEA's basic requirement is public liability, £1 million worth of public liability. And we often say, if you're just starting out, or if you're not doing much work that requires a high level of public liability, start with the 1 million. We have short-term functionality which will allow you to increase your public liability, or even your material damage, for short periods of time. So you may get asked to do a sort of council work where they require 5 million as standard. You just go through the system, increase it for that job, for that period. It's a short-term cost, which is added to your existing direct debit payments, or as a one-off payment. And then after that, it goes back down to its original price. So there is the variable, there is the flexibility for customers to chop and change their policy mid-term.
That would give you more confidence when you're quoting for business, because of course you're not in the back of your mind when you're talking to a potential client. You're thinking, how am I going to insure this? And I'm going to have to get a whole new insurance policy for that, etc. So
we get that question a lot, and what we do say to customers, actually, they're like, well, I want to be able to say £5 million worth of public liability. And my answer is often, well, you can quite easily say insurance available up to £10 million worth of public liability, because you can always come to us and say at the last minute, I've got a job that needs 10 million. So it's a very simple workaround in that respect.
Yes, superb. And talking about the sort of the finite areas of Moonrock cover, one of the things I've noticed that you thought of that a lot of the other drone insurance services haven't, is you actually offer flight assessment cover. Could you tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah, when we first launched, there was you would have to buy an annual policy to take your insurance to present it to the CEA, but at the time there was quite a lag period, so you couldn't use your insurance until you got your qualifications. So what we created was a flight assessment policy, which cost £10, £11, which will allow you to do your exam fully covered for the drone and the public liability, because the drone schools also want to make sure that you have the relevant public liability in place, so they're not liable. And then what we do to help these pilots is we will then credit them back the flight assessment cover, the price £11, once they take out the annual policy. And it's proven to be so valuable to those pilots and really successful.
Do you see the hobbyist, which has now become, in my opinion, a more important part of drone regulations, and has almost, with these regulations, been brought in from the cold a little bit by the CAA, allowing things like sub 250 gram drones to be flown with so much freedom? Do you see the hobbyist cover side of things as being part of Moonrock's future?
Well, if I take that step back, we'd always heard from our customers. I think we've got 2,000 annual policies now. A real frustration by the commercial pilot is, they would want to go and operate and do a flight, do all the safety checks, get the insurance, spend the money on training, fly safely, and then they're going to have a guy go and picks up a drone from a shop, do exactly the same flight, not have to have insurance, not to have any sort of oversight. And the insurance was a big issue, and it caused a real, frustration that they can, and actually they were going to be the ones who were at higher risk. So to a certain extent, you're punishing the commercial pilot who have done all the training to get insurance, and the hobbyist, the recreational user, could go and do what they wanted without any insurance. There are ongoing conversations with the Department of Transport, with the CAA, as a united group of insurers to look at ways we can do that. Look at maybe some form of mandatory insurance. It is in discussion because we think one of the road bumps to drones generally is public perception.
Yes, absolutely.
Drones have been very much a concern in the public, especially when you get big headlines. Drone flies into Gatwick. Drone flies into person, chops their fingers off. So the public perception of drones hasn't always been great. So if you've got the concern of the hobbyist flying without any insurance, and if an accident were to happen, who's going to be blamed? Why haven't they got insurance? Some kid, and my view has always been the fact that you may have a flyaway and it's not necessarily going to land in an aircraft engine. It might be the fact that it's flying over the M1 and somebody looks up to see what's going on, and there may be some sort of crash on a major motorway. That's where I see the public liability claim maybe coming from. The general public do want to see that the industry has taken the relevant safety precautions. And I think insurance for the hobbyist is important, and Moonrock are very much aware of this and very much prepared for this.
Excellent. Okay. Because I do agree with you, and insurance is kind of to some hobbyists, I know it feels like regulation almost. They almost say that I need insurance. That I feel like that's a little bit too much regulated. But in actual fact, of course, it is something which offers them a lot of protection personally, and it offers the hobby a lot of protection as well. I think a lot of people would be shocked, genuinely, in the public if they realise the amount of drones that are flown without any kind of insurance whatsoever. Because of course, we all very proudly as hobbyists say, my drone is an aircraft. It can't be messed with in the air because it's the same as an aircraft, etc. I have the rights as a drone operator, as a pilot, that type of thing. But then there's no insurance there. There's no coverage for public liability, etc. If things go wrong. And I think that is definitely a hole there that certainly needs addressing in some way or form. As I say, I think little things like the CAA adding it to all of their forms, etc., has at least started the conversation. So we now see a lot more hobbyists saying, "Hi, do I need insurance for this flight? Do I need insurance for that flight?" So they are starting to think about it more in the groups and the forums out there, which is obviously very healthy. Do you see Moonrock moving into directly covering hobbyists?
Yeah, very much so. It's definitely on our radar. It's definitely something that we are ready and prepared for. We want to make sure that every drone user has the ability to purchase insurance, from the consumer, hobbyists, let's say, all the way to the PVLOS operations at the other end. It's just another area that we want to cover off.
Based on your own experience within the drone industry and of course drone insurance, is there any wider qualifications that you would recommend for budding drone professionals in terms of specific qualifications which could help present a more solid insurance prospect? Doing health and safety qualification? Have you thought of doing a first aid qualification? Because actually that can help with larger clients, but also with the insurance side of things. Would you agree with that? Would you say the wider qualification helps?
Absolutely. And we look very favourably on that. We would actually quite often say, if you do go for these added qualifications, we feel more comfortable. We're happy to offer discounts on our pilots. It's a really great way of making the underwriters feel more confident. But also, I think the more qualifications you get in these specific areas, the more likely you are to win business. If two people are pitching for the same job, one has a more advanced qualification, it's often pretty much a no-brainer as to which which pilot they would actually go with. And I think you're going to start to see more and more of this, more specialist courses that people within those industries can take to become better qualified, offering a better service to those particular industries.
I don't think we can talk to the CEO of a drone insurance company without talking about the future of drone delivery. And I know that this is one of those subjects that I sometimes, I always smile when someone brings it up, because of course I feel like there's this thing of public perception and reality of drone insurance, of people expecting their hot coffee to be delivered by drone, and what actual drone delivery will possibly form. Do you have any views and opinions on the future of drone delivery, whether you feel that it's a realistic, feasible thing, and what type of form it might take?
So I'll just take you back when we wrote our business plan, our very first business plan, and we presented it to Hiscox. There was a bit of a throwaway line at the bottom saying, and in 20 years' time, Amazon will be able to deliver your books to your front door. And look where we are now. The likes of Amazon, the likes of the big supermarket chains, they're already developing systems which will allow delivery to take place. We are living in the future. We talk about the Fred Flintstone flying car. People often don't realise that actually these things, the technology's there. We are there at the moment. Regulation is actually playing catch up to these sorts of, the drone delivery options. There's absolutely no doubt that drone delivery is going to be a feature of the future. There are different opinions on timescales of when this might happen. But, you look at the BVLOS operations that we're already insuring, you're looking at medical kits being supplied by search and rescue teams up mountains. These are drone delivery systems. We might not be talking about books in your grocery, but drone delivery systems are already in play. And it's just going to become more frequent. I think there are a lot of, as I say, regulatory obstacles. We need to sort out, UTMs, unmanned traffic management systems, to ensure we know where these things are, but these are all taking place behind the scenes.
Looking at the most common type of claim, is there a type of claim which is the most common for you? Are you noticing that changing as the industry evolves?
So we try and look at prevention rather than cure. So we're always trying to feed back to our customers, how to operate more safely. And the most common cause of claim is actually pilot error. Not through anything that they've done maliciously, but it's actually a loss of concentration in the last minute when coming into land. It's quite intense. You're using a lot of energy, concentration when flying the drone. When they bring it into land, there's a bit more relaxation. Job's finished. You're seeing drone crashes a lot of the time from 10, 15 meters in the air. As they're coming into land, lapse of concentration, drone crashes, flips over, props go, gimbal goes, camera goes. So it's really sort of making sure you concentrate from the minute you take off to the minute you land. It's a really important thing that we try and make sure we let the drone pilots know about. Unfortunately, the past year, 18 months, we've seen a real increase in the number of thefts.
Right.
Drones landing in fields, people running, nicking them, theft from cars if they're not hidden away properly. It's something that, because unfortunately drones are becoming more available, more widely known, theft is occurring, unfortunately, far more frequently.
As we're talking about claims, and for anybody that is interested in more information on Moonrock drone insurance, as I was saying, that there will be the links in the description below. There's also going to be a link to Simon's email address. So if you do have questions, please do feel free to reach out. And I'm going to ask you for some comments in a moment as well. But one thing that interests me as well is, of course, you're underwritten by Hiscox. How does the claims process work in terms of, okay, I've had one of these incidents. Unfortunately, someone's run off with my drone, or I've lost concentration and bounced my Inspire off of the floor. How does the claims process work with Hiscox?
So we are very, very lucky that we have Hiscox as our partners. They are renowned as probably the best claims handling service, in
Excellent.
the UK. And also part of our insurance policy are some of the features that are great. So if you lose your drone, if there's an accident with your drone, automatically, if you have a job that's coming up in the next 48 hours or the next week, you can go and hire a drone, and Hiscox will actually pay for the hire of that drone. It's automatically included. It's like having a courtesy car, which, I don't think is applicable in some of our competitors' insurance, or if it is, you have to pay extra for it.
Yes.
We try and make it as easy as possible.
Excellent.
Once you submit a claims form, the claims team will be in contact with you straight away. We'll organise to have the drone picked up from you free of charge. It gets sent back to our repair centre where it's assessed. If it can be repaired, it will be, and it has a full year's warranty on it. Otherwise, the claim's paid out new for old. So we've had, we are ultimately, as an insurance company, no matter how great I am or how great the business is, we are judged on how our claims are handled. And, thankfully, we've got a phenomenal claims handling team.
As I was saying before, there are links in the description. Also, we would like you to pose any questions that you have regarding drone insurance in the comments below as well. And that will form some kind of Q&A in the future, because I'm very happy that Moonrock Insurance Services will be working with Geeksvana in the future to try and help bring about the knowledge which is needed, which of course is shifting knowledge as the insurance market and as the drone industry moves forward. So thank you very much for joining us today, Simon. I really appreciate it.
Delighted to be here, and thank you very much. And as I say, please always contact me, ask questions, email me directly, pick up the phone. Very easy to get hold of.